Hi, this is MetaGeek Adam, and today in this video, I'm going to show you kind of a little site survey of sorts of just me walking around my home and seeing if there's any kind of dead spots, if there's any kind of areas that is not getting good Wi-Fi coverage. So right now I'm in my kitchen, which is where I have my wireless router, and I have my device basically, about maybe a foot away from the AP. And so I'm going to go in here and click on Coda, which is my network, and then click on network details. And then I'm going to go through this screen as much as possible while I walk through my environment to see how my Wi-Fi coverage is looking. And so this is just kind of a site survey of sorts. I want to see how my internet, how my Wi-Fi coverage is around my house, and locate any dead spots and see if those dead spots are places that I want to have better Wi-Fi coverage at, or if I could live without better Wi-Fi coverage at those locations. So what we're seeing right here is I clicked on Coda and then I clicked on network details, and I could see that my network, my router, is broadcasting on a couple different radios. So I have my 5 gigahertz radio right here, which I could see my device is actually connected to the 5 gigahertz radio, which is another good tidbit of interest that I would want to know, because 5 gigahertz, if I'm connected to that at a location, I'll have the possibility, the potential for quicker data transmissions. Whereas if I was connected to 2.4, it's not bad, but as we could see, the max data rate is a lot less, 1,300 megabytes per second compared to 216.7 megabytes per second, at least the potential of that much. So let's see. Again, I'm just about a foot from my AP, and I can see that the signal strength for my 5 gigahertz one is actually pretty strong. It's showing up as negative 17 dBm. And really, I wouldn't expect to see high signal strengths for the most part. Like, you only see negative 17. You really only see negative 30 and above when you're basically like right next to your AP, when you have antennas touching each other, more or less. Otherwise, if I'm floating around negative 50 to negative 65, that's kind of the range I want to be in for any area around my house where I want to have good Wi-Fi coverage at, where I want to have a good Wi-Fi connection at. So let's see, I have my 5 gigahertz radio that I'm connected to and my 2.4. And then in this overtime graph, we could see that I'm so close to the 5 gigahertz radio that it's actually showing above the top of this, because it's at negative 17, and the graph doesn't go that high. We go to about a negative 30 view, which will more often than not be very sufficient. And we could also see how they're represented below in the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz graph too. So I have the 5 gigahertz selected, and we could see the purple outline, which we could see again the purple outline for the actual radio and the 5 gigahertz table down there. And if I click on the 2.4 gigahertz table, then we'll see the radio that's broadcasting the Coda network on the 2.4 gigahertz band right there on channel 1. All right, so I'm going to move away from the AP, and right now I'm just moving over to where my Nook is, and my Nook is about 5-10 feet away from the AP. So we can see that the coverage here is still pretty awesome, negative 29 to negative 50. Yep, we saw 2.4 just go to negative 37. And right next to my Nook is actually a door to go to the outside. And I'm the type of guy that likes to be, in my patio, hanging out, and, on one of my chairs outside and just watching Netflix, or just swinging on one of my chair swings out here. So let's see, if I walk around out here, we could see that, what is this, 2.4 and the 5, they're going down to about negative 44, negative 52. So still pretty good coverage, and, that's pretty in line with what I experience when outside, is that, I usually have very good connection. So I'm just walking around a little bit at my patio. I'm still maintaining pretty good coverage, around negative 50. Yeah, everywhere is pretty good in terms of coverage. So I'm pretty satisfied there. So I'm going to go back inside, back in my Nook, right next to my kitchen. And then now I'm going to go into my living room. And this, it's still pretty close to where the AP is. It's probably about 30 feet away is where I am right now. And we're still seeing negative 50. And I also have pretty good line of sight with my AP right here too. I don't have a lot of walls or a lot of separation. So the open concept kitchen living room is how my house is laid out. So I have a good line of sight with the AP. So there's not a lot of walls or not a lot of stuff that would be blocking or causing great attenuation between my AP and where I currently am. So now I'm going to go into my kids' playroom, which does have some walls. So there's going to be a little bit of attenuation due to building material between the AP and where I am. And so I would expect it to be also pretty good in here. Let's see, we could see that the 2.4 gigahertz went down to about -63, so not all that strong, but I'm pretty impressed that the 5 gigahertz signal strength is still pretty high. So that's awesome. So I'm going to move out of here, and then I'm going to go now into my bedroom, which shares a wall with the kitchen. So basically the AP will be on the other side of the wall. Okay, and this is my room in here. Let's see. And how is my signal strength at this location? Still pretty good. Yeah, not too bad. -50. So let's go into the bathroom, which is going to have now a couple walls and a lot more kind of thick building materials, a lot more tiles and stuff, and see how we are doing in here. All right. You see that when I went into my bathroom, stuff started to dip down a little bit, and then went back up. So still pretty good. So my house is mostly one story. There is a upstairs part of it, a media room, which the kids are at right now. So I'm not going to go up there, but I will go to the other side of the house where there's 3 other rooms. And now there's going to be a couple walls, about 2 or 3 walls between me and the AP. And so I would expect a lot more attenuation where I am right now, which is my oldest kid's room. I'm going to sit on his bed right here and see what happens. So we can see some attenuation going on here. Our signal strength went down to -58 for the 5 gigahertz and -68 for the 2.4. So at this range, I don't know how my 5 gigahertz is so high. I think it's probably my router. So I have a Google Asus router, and those things are just like the epitome of plug and play. You plug it in and it works, and it's just smart, and it knows how to update to make it more optimized. So yeah, we could see stuff went down -69 and -55. So it's pretty consistent there. So the 2.4 down to -74. So the 2.4 is not the best right where I am. But I still have good coverage with the 5 gigahertz, so I'm still really happy. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk over into my office space. And so now I'm about like maybe like 70 feet from where the AP is. And we can see that the signal strength went up a little bit because there's less walls between me and the AP. There's only 1 wall and then basically a straight line of sight to the AP. So -50s is pretty awesome. So, when I'm working from home here at my home office, it's pretty good. But then I'm going to go into this little Jack and Jill bathroom here, which we'll see what's going on in here. So it looks like it's still around -61, -64, so still pretty good coverage. Again, like I don't have a huge spread out house, and I centralized my AP so that it reaches basically all the main parts and definitely all the parts in which I would want to have good operable Wi-Fi at. So my placement has been pretty good. So in terms of showing you like a dead spot or a bad placement, so far I'm failing in this video, but I'll give myself a little bit of a pat on the back for having some good coverage around the house. All right, just heard a little beep. I'm going outside in my garage, which has been some good time out in my garage. I have a ping pong table out here and a Sonos player out here. So I want to make sure that my Sonos has a good signal strength. So I'm going to go stand right next to my Sonos player out here on my workbench, and then let's see what I have. So let's see, we're going down to about -65 for the 5 gigahertz and -68 for the 2.4. which honestly is pretty good. Like, I'll say a lot of times that you want a signal strength above negative 67 at a minimum. I think we have it green until about negative 70. And even for the Sonos, that's probably still going to be pretty good because it's playing music and it's not like a huge bandwidth hog or anything like that. The audio files are typically pretty small, and it can download the whole song, pretty much in like a couple seconds. And then the song lasts for about, a couple minutes. So typically the bandwidth for the Sonos isn't all that high. But we see that the 2.4 went down to negative 71, and 5 gigahertz is still staying pretty strong at negative 65. So that's all the main areas in which I would want to have good Wi-Fi coverage at my house. And it turns out that I do have pretty good Wi-Fi coverage at my house. And so most of my needs are met. But this is just to give you an example of what you can do to roam around your house and pay attention to that signal strength over time graph, as well as the current signal strength, and see, where you're going to red. And if you're going to red, at that particular location, what is your demand for Wi-Fi? How much Wi-Fi do you need at that particular location? Because a lot of times there's a trade-off. You want to hit the spots where you typically use your Wi-Fi. And if you're not able to hit that spot and you don't use Wi-Fi there that much, well, as long as you're covering the spots where you do need the Wi-Fi, that's the key thing for your experience. So give it a try, go around your house and do your own little site survey to see how you're looking with your signal strength throughout the places, throughout the environment that you use Wi-Fi the most.